Theta, Upsilon, well, Theta. I'm introducing Dr. Mary James, chapter advisor of Florida State College of Jacksonville. She was born in Bravo, Utah, raised in Mayday, Georgia. Received her undergraduate degree in biology in 1987 and chemistry in 1991 about this Sarasota, Valdosta State University. She earned a graduate degree in chemistry from Auburn University in 1996 and started teaching in 1996 as well. Became the advisor of Upsilon Eta in 1998 under the direction of Dr. Henry Mormon. Teaches chemistry at Florida State College of Jacksonville today. Currently serves on the advisory board for the Florida region and is the proud people of Free Throw Baby, Ibai by Renee, and Blue Bella. Favorite of an Indeed. Welcome, Mary James, Dr. Mary James, to the Stanford guest.
Thank you. I'm going to try to share my screen. I have forgotten how to do this since I haven't taught at home in a long time. Okay. So, of all topics, I was given the topic of time management to talk about. And I'll just let you know that I am probably the worst at time management. So this was very helpful for me. And hopefully you all will be able to get something out of it, or at least share something that you've done that's been successful for you. So time management can help you one way in lowering your stress. And I don't know about you all, but having less stress in your life is a good thing. So with looking at time management, if you want to have something done, you're going to have to make time to do it. So let me see if I can get everything squared away here. All right, so if you think back to your high school days, which for some of us, those were glory days. For some of us, they were a nightmare. For some of us, you may still be in high school. So when you're in high school, you're in class all the time. You have time in the classroom to do your homework. And you can also do a little bit of homework outside of the classroom. But when you're in college, you only have about, I don't know, 15 hours of class a week, maybe more if you're taking more classes, but you have little time in the classroom to do your homework. And the best part, you get to set your own schedule. Now, that could also be the worst part. So in that sense, you have a little bit of responsibility to take care and to manage all the things that you need to manage. One of the reasons that we have trouble managing our time is because there's so many different things that we can do that we enjoy. One would be hanging out with your friends, roommates, hanging out with your family, visiting your neighbors. If you're a fitness nut, going out and doing your exercise, your leisure activities, whatever those are. For some people, it's going to the beach. For some people, it's hiking. For some people, it's woodworking, leatherworking, sewing. Everybody has their own leisure activities. I just named a few distractions that we can have. There are many, many others. So we have things that we have to get done, and then we have things that we want to do. And therein lies the problem. So one of the things that I always do when I find myself getting completely and totally confused and out of sorts is I set up a timesheet. So we have 168 hours in 1 week. So what I do is I sit down and I think about each individual day and what I do during those 24 hours in that day. So eating, sleeping, working out, going to class, etc. And then not what I want to do in that time, but what I actually do in that time. So what I try to do is see how much time I have left to get done the things that I need to get done, like homework, like that paper I need to get finished, like that midterm exam, like studying, etc. So when you go through and you write all that down, a lot of times you really don't have much time to get everything done. So what you have to do is to create a plan. So when you create that plan, you have to be fairly flexible in your plan. But once you have the plan, then that allows you to relax a little bit and know that everything can fit where it needs to fit. Okay. So studies have shown that if students have a plan, they have less stress because things are in a routine. Now, I don't know about for you all, but when we first went home and we started teaching from home and taking classes from home, that really messed with my head because I didn't have that specific routine that I needed. So once I was able to establish a new routine, then I'm good to go, right? So now my routine is I go and sit in front of my computer for 3 hours, I lecture for 3 hours, and then I get up and play with the dogs until my next class. So that became my routine instead of getting up, getting ready to go to work, going to work, etc. So if we take our time and create that plan, then what we can do is tweak it as we need to. So you start with long-term and move to short-term. The master plan is, if you think about the entire term in your semester, is you're creating, if you're taking 3 classes, let's say, you create for yourself a master syllabus, because each one of those classes is going to have assignments due, they're going to have exams due, etc., etc. So if you put it all on a master plan and on a master sheet, what you'll probably find out is that instructors hate you and they give all the exams on the same week. So if you've managed to arrange your course schedule so that you have classes only on 2 days a week, then most of the time you're going to have all your exams on those 2 days a week. So if you know that in August, that in September, you're going to have 3 exams on the same day, then you've got a little bit of time to plan for that. It doesn't just freak you out when you automatically see, oh my gosh, I've got so much to do and it's all due tomorrow. So create that long-term range plan and then move to short-term, and then go to a daily plan. So the daily plan will allow you to get that to-do list, and it can be to-do list as in, let's see, going and getting a haircut, going to the grocery store, going to class, doing your homework assignment, meeting up with your study partners. So if you have that daily to-do list, then you can see where you actually need to spend your time. Okay, so the master list. So get that squared away for your term. How many of you actually do this? Just in the chat line, let me know if you actually sit down and plan your term with your planner, where you know when your exams are, or when you have to, or for faculty, when you have to make up your exams. That one always catches me off guard. I'm like, oh crap, I got to make out a test tomorrow. Okay, so some of you do, a lot of you do. Okay, so maybe I'm the only one that doesn't do it. So like I said, this was an excellent opportunity for me, and I appreciate it. So if you have that master plan, you're less likely to forget things. And now with our Canvas shells, or our learning shells, they give us calendars of things to do as well. Now, the color coordinating I thought was kind of interesting. One of my students has her classes color coordinated in her schedule book. So she has, each class has a specific color. And then within that, she uses a highlighter for work that is due versus an exam that is coming up. So for her, obviously a visual person, she's able to just at a quick glance by color and by highlighter know what's happening in that particular case. So very organized. again, not my strong suit. So I learned a lot from that, and I've been trying to incorporate that. So now, I box things if it means it's a personal to do thing, or I circle things if it's a work to do. So I'm slowly getting there. All right, so the weekly to-do list. So once we have our master plan, then we have to move to the weekly plan. And then that also means daily as well. So things that you have to do. Now, some of you would probably argue this. You don't have to sleep, that's optional. The Phi Theta Kappa motto is I'll sleep when I'm dead. All right, so, that's, I don't live by that motto. But you definitely need sleep, because if you pull back on your sleep, then you're going to suffer cognitively, and those around you are going to suffer even worse, because most of us, when we don't have enough sleep and we're sleep deprived, we're not very nice to be around. Same thing with eating. If you decide not to eat because you're in trouble, or you've got too much going on, then now you're angry, or as they say, hangry, and that's no good either. So you have to have your priorities. You have to take care of yourself. And part of taking care of yourself is to make sure you get your sleep and your food, because if you don't have that energy in your body, you're not going to be able to expend the energy that you need in order to complete the task that you need to complete. So block off those things in your day that you have to do. Okay, so whether it's class or working out, if you do this, and I do this a lot. I was just looking through some notes that I had on my desk from a year or two ago. And I don't throw anything away either. That's another issue. But anyway, that's another presentation, I guess. But one of the things that I'd found was my daily schedule. And I just started looking through it, and I'm like, wow, I was pretty busy then. So when I look at it and compare to what I'm doing now, we can always find time to do things. And what will happen is, this is the important piece. If you're true to yourself and you write down what you actually do, and when I say actually do, I mean hanging out with your friends, hanging out with, your dogs, cooking supper. If you look at all those things, driving, commuting, whatever it is, there will be places where you can save time and be more efficient, and you'll end up coming up with more study time, which is better, because the more you're prepared for something, the easier it is going to be. Keep your study time in chunks instead of doing the whole, okay, I'm going to take Friday off and I'm going to study the whole 6 hours on Friday, which is when I would have been at work. Well, okay, let me just tell you how that works for me. They say, hey, the college is going to close, so because of the hurricane, so you have all the time in the world to do what you need to do. And I'm thinking, great, I'm going to take home all of my papers that I need to grade, my grade sheets. I'm going to get everything done. It's still sitting on my table, and I really did enjoy my day off. So you have to make sure that you keep yourself squared away, right? You have to hold yourself accountable. If you're going to set up times, do 60 minutes max, and then take some time off, 20 minutes. Go walking, or just sit in front of the television and drool, whatever it is you need to do to disengage. So then when you've had that chance to relax, coming back to the task is going to be easier, right? So if we can do that, and we have those chunks of memory, those chunks of study time, it works better, because we can recall smaller things a little bit better than we can those giant 8-hour cram sessions. Now, the last couple here for me are real important as well. Extra tasks. How many times has it been when you were, heading out and you're like, let me check my email one last time. So you check your email, and then somebody has sent you something that you have to do, and you have to do it before tomorrow morning. And you're like, great. If I had not checked my email, I would have not known this was there. Dadgummit, now I've got something else I need to do. So again, we have to be careful with our time so that we can manage it and have those extra tasks be able to be added in. So pay attention to those little things as well. All right. And don't forget to enjoy your free time. Okay. Because if you don't make time for yourself, then you're not going to be able to make time for all the other stuff because it's not going to really matter to you. All right. Once you've made your list, you made the master list for the whole term, and then you broke it down to the first a week. And then now you're doing daily. Evaluate it. Are you really being true to what you said you were going to do? Right? Evaluate yourself. The only way that we can get better is through looking at ourselves and being true. It's like, I said I was going to do this, but I totally didn't. Why didn't I do it? And then, it may be for a valid reason that you couldn't get it done. But you have to be true to yourself and say, I didn't get it done because I just didn't do it. So then now you have to assess, what can I do differently so I can spend that time more wisely? So always check yourself to see if you're spending enough time studying, spending enough time on your classes, spending enough time with your family, spending enough time with yourself, because you've got to make sure that you have that time as well. One of the things that worked for me as a student, and it may not work for everyone else, like Travis is saying, not all of us are exactly the same, which thank goodness. Boy, it'd be a boring life if everybody were like me. But we're all different and we all excel differently. But what worked for me was when I was in school, I treated Monday through Friday as if it were my full-time job. I had a 20-hour work part-time job, went to classes, had a full load, and the rest of that time outside of that, I used to study. But when Friday afternoon came about, from Friday to Sunday afternoon was mine. It was as if I was not even in college. So that time, that was my opportunity to reset myself and to enjoy the things that I liked to do. There's adjustments, like if you have finals coming up or you have exams coming up, you may have to study that weekend, but it's totally okay because the next weekend is going to be yours, or however you arrange your time. But you need to make sure that you have your schedule in such a way that you do have time built in for yourself. Because if you don't, you're going to burn out, and then you're going to be like, I hate school and I don't even know why I'm doing this. So you lose focus, and then, you want to quit. Okay, now here's another part of time management, and that is procrastination. Some of us manage our time in such a way that we wait till the last minute because, hey, that's what works, right? I always work better when I'm under pressure. How many of you have said that before? In the chat line, throw up if you've said, I always work better when I'm at last minute. Absolutely. We definitely work better when it's last minute because we have to. We got no other choice, right? So what we need to do is try to avoid that, because if we can avoid that last minute stress and anxiety, we'll probably be able to find out that we'll do a much better job and that we can ease into that A as opposed to, stressing over that A. So we need to pay attention to our procrastination. Why are some reasons that you procrastinate? Somebody tell me. So procrastination is a symptom of anxiety, so somebody said, okay, I believe that. Why do you procrastinate? Write in the chat line why you think you're a procrastinator. Fear of failure, okay. Writer's block. I wonder if the writer's block happens because you are waiting to the last minute and then you can't think, or you're afraid that, oh my gosh, if I don't do this right, I'm not gonna make a good grade. Okay. So we have to be careful about that procrastination. So let's see if we are a procrastinator. So let's take this little self-test. Hopefully you've got some paper that you can write on, and if not, you probably have your phones and you can put it in your notes. Label your notes or your phone 1 to 12, okay? 1 to 12, and then answer these questions. 1 is never, 4 is always, okay? So number 1 says, I feel I have to cram before an exam. So if that's always what you do, then put a 4 there. If that's never what you do, put a 1 there. Okay, 2 is occasionally, 3 is often. All right. Number 2, my homework is turned in on time. So if that's something that you always do, you always turn your homework in on time, then put a 4 there. All right. Number 3, I think I get enough sleep. Okay, so now that's kind of questionable, because I've heard some people say, yeah, 2 hours is enough sleep. People, it's not. Okay, just FYI, you need more than that. I pull all-nighters before midterms and finals. Well, I thought that was normal. Okay, again, we're answering these questions. Number 5, I plan activities with friends or family for a couple of nights a week and spend the amount of time with them that I planned. Okay, so that's kind of like what I was talking about earlier with the whole idea of planning some time for yourself. 4's all the way across the board. When I'm working on a paper, I put off writing until a few days before it's due. From the chat line, it looks like some of you, that would be a definite 4 for you. I cancel social activities because I feel I don't have enough time. That one can be dangerous. I get my papers in on time. That was number 8. Number 9, I find myself making a lot of excuses to my instructors about why my work isn't done. Now, making excuses, I'm not talking about, I have COVID and I can't come. I'm not talking about I'm in the hospital, I can't come. I'm talking about, see, what had happened was when the conversation starts out like that, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. What had happened was, so if you're making excuses like that, it might not be a good thing. Number 10, I feel comfortable about how I use my time now. Number 11, I feel that something is hanging over my head that I'll never have enough time to get the work assigned, to do the work that's assigned. Okay, and then the last one, number 12, I feel tired. All right, so think about that for just a second, and we're going to assess if we're procrastinators or if we've got it good to go. All right, so now if you did okay, so now here we have to figure out if number 1, 4, 6, 7, 9, 11, and 12, add those up. That's why I asked you to number your papers 1 to 12. Okay, so if you add all those up and then add up the remaining 2, 3, 5, 8, and 10, or if you did your total, then you can subtract those out. So if your score for A, right, was greater than your score for B, then you're probably a procrastinator. I think mine was like a 17 and a 15 or something crazy like that. So I was actually a procrastinator. If your B score is higher than your A score, then you spend your time well. You manage your time well. And then a lot of times, and I think this is probably true of those of us who manage our time well, which that wouldn't be me. If your scores are equal, then you procrastinate at times, but you're not a procrastinator by habit. So looking at those things, you want to think about, yeah, how can, in 16, 14, that's pretty close, right? So you're a procrastinator, but there's a few tweaks that you can do, then you wouldn't be a procrastinator, right? Living on the edge dwellers. That's right. Some of us are. So take a second and think about what are some things that you can do that would change you from being a procrastinator to not. So here's some examples that were given. Now, I have to admit, none of this is mine. I stole all of this from I think it was a university in Georgia that gave this to their freshman students, this presentation to their freshmen. I tweaked it a little bit, but mostly it's what they suggested. Just being straight up. I'm listing my references. All right, so how do you overcome procrastination? Set realistic goals, okay? If your goal is that you're going to get those 9 15-page papers done today, that might not happen, right? So maybe you could get one of them done today, but it's probably not going to be able to get it all done. Do your schoolwork when your energy level is high. So for me, I'm a morning person. I get up at 5, 6 o'clock and I'm ready to go. Feet hit the floor, I'm ready to do it. However, if you hit me about 8:30 or 9:30 at night, I'm done. I'm like, I don't care what you do. It's not going to involve me. So, but I know that about myself. So I manage my work that way. Break larger tasks up into smaller ones. This might apply to those of us who are doing the honors in action projects. Okay, that's a large task, but if you break it down into smaller ones, it becomes more realistic and easier to manage. And headquarters in their honors in action program guide has done that for you. They've kind of given you suggestions on how you can break it down into smaller tasks. Avoid all-night study sessions. If you go through and do an all-night study session, 1, you're fatigued because you've stayed up all night. 2, you can't think straight because your cognitive abilities are gone and you're probably wired up on some random caffeine concoction. And then 3, you're not going to know what's going on the next day you look at something. I've had several times when students have sent me an email in the middle of the night going, oh my God, I can't do this. I don't know what's going on. I just don't understand this class, and I'm like, okay. So then I tell them, I'll see you tomorrow in class and we can talk about it. So then when they ask me that question, they're like, oh, well, I know how to do this. I'm like, okay, that's the difference between 2 a.m. and, 10 a.m. At 2 a.m., you're all stressed out, you're exhausted, and you can't think straight. But after you've had a night's rest, and the next day you look at it with fresh eyes, it becomes relatively straightforward. To overcome procrastination, another thing is to allow yourself extra time for unexpected things. You know as well as I do that things are going to come up to where you didn't know you had to do that. I do this to my chapter officers all the time. I'm like, oh, by the way, I need you to present tomorrow at such and such. Whoops, I forgot to tell them. There's always going to be unexpected things. If you're working, your boss may come to you and say, hey, I need you to work an extra shift. Okay. Or if you're in class, your instructor may add that one more assignment that you just really wanted to do. So make sure that you allow some time. Make sure, thanks, Max, calling me out on that. Make sure that you allow some time to do those extra things. And then the last 3 on this list to help you overcome procrastination is schedule time for yourself. You're very important. Whether you think you're important or not, you really are. So treat yourself that way. So you need to take time and schedule time for, literally block off time for yourself. Nothing is going to get in the way of that. Whether it's an unexpected thing, that is your time, and that's sacred time. And then use your free time wisely. If you notice every day that you have from 1 to 2 open, then maybe that's when you can do that unexpected thing. Maybe that's when you need to run to the the auto shop and get your oil changed. Maybe that's when you need to go get your hair cut. So when you find those times, go, is there anything I need to work in? Do I need to run to the grocery store? What do I need to do? Do I need to study a little bit more for this calculus class because it's a little harder than I anticipated? You know, you have to ask yourself these things. And then the last thing here on this slide that I really like to help you overcome procrastination is to reward yourself. Okay, if you're doing things the right way, there's nothing that says you can't say, hey, good job, and pat yourself on the back. Some people reward themselves in different ways. Some people go on a shopping spree. Some people go on, an extended bike ride, a walk to the beach, whatever. For me, to reward myself, it's a nice hot chocolate. Just sit down and enjoy a hot chocolate and just reflect on what's been going on. So we can all reward ourselves in different ways. But if you do that, then now you're setting yourself up the next time for, hey, if I get this done in time without stress, I know that I'll be able to relax and have my hot chocolate or reward myself by buying a new whatever. Okay. All right. And then these are some things that time management will help you do. Okay. If you pay attention to your time and you manage it, it'll help you increase your productivity. Now, productivity, not only in your classes, in your Phi Theta Kappa life, but in your personal life, right? Because it's going to allow you to reduce that stress that you have. It will help you be mindful and not have a mind full. Now, that's a whole nother presentation that I'm sure Dr. Tullio could give completely. But if you're mindful of the things you're doing, then you're paying attention to those things. But if your mind is full of all the things you have to do, you're frozen because you can't do anything. So be mindful of what you're doing at that moment. Helping with time management will help improve your self-esteem because you'll be able to accomplish more. You'll have that sense of balance that you need in your life between work, between play. There's an important balance that exists there. It will also help you in your career skills, right? Because when you go to the workforce, when you go in the workforce, which most of you probably already are in the workforce, you'll be able to establish yourself a little bit better because you already are going to be okay when your boss comes to you at last minute and says, hey, I need to get this, I need you to do this, right? But for me, it's time management allows me the opportunity to spend more time doing the things I enjoy, which is hanging out with my pups. So I appreciate the time that you've given me. And I hope that you've had an opportunity to gather something from this information. And if not, maybe it will start you on looking at where you can spend your time a little bit more and it be meaningful. There's several TED Talks on time management and procrastination, which I've looked at several of those, some wonderful information out there. So just make sure that you take it the one step further and not just look at this and go, oh, that was kind of cool, I liked that, but you implement it into your lives. And if there's any questions that anyone has or any comments, then I'll be more than happy to share or start the discussion. And these are my pups. This is Evie, the brindle. Blue is my blue-eyed, and then Riley is my scaredy cat. So thank y'all.
Thank you so much. I loved it. I'm definitely going to watch this again once we get the recording.